Well, everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome to Imagination Creation. I am Commissioner Elena Sanders, and I apologize for the tardiness. As you know, we had a event before this, and I want to come in and make sure we do this for everybody. So, right before my eyes, I have the one and only Sherry ShamRock, Sherry Latham, who is a very talented individual who I've been knowing for some years. And she has created a product that is patent and can teach you how to take your ideas, your imagination, and turn it into a business. This is just so amazing that you're going to be able to get all this information today and be able to see how all this is worked. So it's really important that you stay tuned in and listen to what she has to say. Get this one-on-one coaching from Sherry today or information from Sherry today. And I'm going to get out the way and turn it over to Miss Sherry ShamRock, the one and only.
Hello, hello out there. Okay, so thank you, Elena, for that great introduction. And I'm laughing to myself because, yes, we've known each other now for years. When does that happen, right? So my name is Sherry ShamRock, and I am a fitness entrepreneur. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. It was just kind of thrust upon me because I had an idea that I could not sleep on. And every time I started thinking about it, I knew it was something I needed to move forward on. So I decided to take the next steps. And that's what I'm going to show you how it happened. I've had a lot of people come to me and ask me, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. How do you be an entrepreneur? I'm like, I never wanted to do it. But when you have a passion for something and you can't not think of anything else except bringing that idea to become a concrete product, then you become an entrepreneur. I knew it took me several years before when people would ask me, what do I do for a living? What do you do? And it took me years before I would say, I'm an entrepreneur. So without further ado, I'm going to switch over to a PowerPoint. It's going to give you all the little tidbits on how it all happened. Okay. Yes, my name of my company is Fit to Cheer. You see a PoundPoms.com and a logo, do it weighted, put a logo girl there. And that's kind of how it has evolved. And that's what's going to happen anytime you're starting something. You're going to see an evolution that you don't even understand. And I can look back now and see so many different changes that I put into fruition. However, everything pretty much has stayed, as far as the idea has stayed the same. It has actually grown a little bit more. So without further ado, who am I? I have been in the fitness industry for 25 years. Prior to that, I was a social worker. I'm an LCSW for the state of Tennessee. I got my career, it started in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm now in Austin, Texas. So what you're seeing here is I actually moved from Atlanta to Utah in October of 2001. And if you don't know the significance of that, September 11th was only a few weeks before that. And so everyone thought I was crazy moving across country, literally, to a foreign country, because sometimes I felt like I was in a foreign country in Utah because it's always so cold and there's a whole lot of different things that I wasn't accustomed to being from the South. But while I was there for about 3.5 years. I helped to open 4 brand new 70,000 square foot Gold's gyms. I managed the mergers of 8 other locations following acquisition. And I helped take it from 3 to 14 locations. At the time when I left, they now have 18 locations. I took from 3 to 14 locations in 3.5 years. When I arrived, they were in the red, which means they weren't making money. By the time I left, they were a $45 million company and the largest Gold's Gym franchise in the world. It was a lot of hard work, but nothing that's worth, your medal is not going to be easy. But I was also a collegiate cheerleader. Yep, that's me. You see, I posted me. I had an asymmetric. Yeah, the hair was cut like this. It was the 80s. Forgive me. But one of the fun things I used to be able to do is go back to my college homecomings and cheer. By Monday, I was walking around like Frankenstein, literally sore from head to foot, having done an activity that this old body had long since forgotten. But one day, I had the light bulb. I recognized that those same cheerleading motions are actually identical to weight training movements. And cheer dance routines are great cardio. So it's like the cheerleader and the fitness person start talking to each other. And so I came up with this great idea. What if I create a fun dance fitness workout based on cheerleading? However, what could I do to enhance that and make it more of bring a fitness idea and make it a little more fitness oriented, you know? And the solution was cheer camp and PoundPoms. So I envisioned what cheerleaders shake and what fitness people hold, and I invented weighted cheerleading pom-poms. And that led me to win $10,000 on Steve Harvey's Funderdome. But let's rewind, right? Let's go back, and because it doesn't all start and end that way, right? Let's rewind to the idea. So first of all, when you have an idea, you ask yourself, what am I supposed to do? And the first thing I did was, when I came up with the idea, I remember it was a Monday evening, and I was talking to my neighbor, and I came home and I could not stop thinking about this idea. So the first thing I did the next morning is I actually went online to the USPTO website. That is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. This is where you can look and research ideas that someone else have this idea, has someone done this before, but you want to always research what you have an idea for. Fortunately, unlike when I kind of got started, you have a better search engine, and there's a lot more social media that exists that you can Google weighted pom-poms and you can see if it actually exists. I had to go through a USPTO site and search for it. When I didn't see anything, I thought, well, you know, first thing I need to do is, if I'm serious about this, I want to protect this idea. Okay. So this is when we start talking about how to protect your idea. There are three primary ways. You have patents, you have trademarks, and you have copyrights. Okay. Now, the only reason I knew a lot about this was when I was in college, my degree was in pre-law. And so the minute I came up with the idea, I immediately thought, what do I need to do to protect it if I'm serious about what I want to do? And the first thing I did was I happened to call an attorney that week. I was told, if you're serious about it, it's going to be a minimum of $10,000 that you're going to be investing. So are you prepared for that? And I was like, yes, you know. But I would tell you, too many times I've heard people say, in order to start a business, you want to have at least blah, blah, blah amount of money saved. If that's the case, you're probably never going to start. So one step at a time. And I know a lot of you've heard the term, for the phrase rather, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And let me tell you, it is a marathon. And it's a marathon that has multiple hills, lots of mud, lots of rain, puddles you have to jump over. And then you have some elation because you get that second wind. So it has to be something that you truly have a passion for, because it's not going to happen overnight, nor will it come, you know, all of a sudden you get a call from Shark Tank and everything's great. It's not that easy. So have a passion in whatever it is you're doing. So let's talk about a patent. I'm going to keep this stuff really, really simple. And if you have any questions, you can email me at shamrock@poundpoms.com, or if you are already live with us, you can just raise your hand. Now, your patent is the actual product. It is the product. So the product I have are weighted cheerleading pom-poms. So I wanted to protect the product and the idea of a weighted cheerleading pom-pom. Now, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call them PoundPoms. So because of the name I have, I want to trademark that name. So no one else can use the word PoundPoms in the same capacity that I'm using it in, okay? And then you have copyrights. Copyrights come from anything that you're writing or singing. Those fall into the category of copyrights. But let's break it down a little bit more. So trademarks, brand, that's your brand. Your patent is your invention. The copyright is the original artistic works. But let's talk about domain names, like your web address or business names. How are they protected under the same intellectual property? Because your trademarks, patents, and copyrights are all considered intellectual property, something that you can actually own. Domains you can own, but they're not as protected as with legal representation at the same way as trademarks and patents are. But if you're wondering about domains, one of the places I actually have mine is through GoDaddy. And when I was on Steve Harvey's Funderdome, I had an opportunity to do a GoDaddy commercial. And so this is an interview that I did with them, and it was right before we started setting up my website. Now, website, you are protected because you can own that website, and you can go and put that website. I mean, you can go and buy your domain anytime you want. But also when you do that, make sure that you're not buying a name that somebody already has come up with. When I first came up with my brand, the name of my company was called Fit to Cheer. Fit to Cheer, right? However, somebody owned the name Fit to Cheer. So I had to come up with something else that would fit into the category of what I wanted, because I really wanted the name Fit to Cheer. Now, when I researched fittocheer.com, it wasn't a website. It was just something that was being hailed. No one was using it. So I decided to buy the web domain name Get Fit to Cheer. So for a couple of years, I was Sherry at getfittocheer.com. A couple of years, I got an email from someone saying, "Oh, we see that you are Fit to Cheer. Would you like to buy the domain name?" I never responded to it. But what I did was I researched, when is the name Fit to Cheer, the domain, when is it going to be released? Because sometimes they just release them, and it had an expiration date. And so because I never responded to the person that wanted me to buy it, I had it marked on my calendar when it would expire. And the day that it expired, I was driving through the bank and I was doing a deposit. And when I wrote the deposit down, I realized what date it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the date the Fit to Cheer came available. So luckily, I grabbed my phone while I'm sitting at the bank, went to GoDaddy.com, was able to purchase fittocheer.com for $7.99. No telling how much they would have tried to sell it to me for. So I got really, really fortunate and lucky with that. So now let's talk about going into your patents, as I was saying earlier. Your patent, there's three different types of patents. You have what's called utility patent. Utility patent is the actual thing that you can hold. It's the item. So the PoundPom is the item as far as a utility patent I want to protect. Then there's a design patent. Design patent is me protecting how I am making it. Okay. And then now they have plant patents where people are, GMOs, a lot of times you may hear about, but when they're creating new types of plants, and you can patent that as well. Now you have what's called non-provisional and provisional. Those words, you're going to get them mixed up, and that's okay. But a non-provisional is when you can say that your product is patent pending. The only time you can say that your product is patent pending is if you've done the paperwork and you've submitted it to the USPTO and you've decided that you want to see if this idea has legs. So from the moment that you submit it, you have a year that you can try to see if it's interesting, if other people are interested in it, if it's something that's a great idea, and you are legally as protected as you could possibly be at that point. A provisional patent is when you decide, okay, I think this idea has legs. So what I want to do is I'm ready to submit for it to be a complete patent. That can take anywhere from probably a minimum of 2 years to 20 years. Take your pick. It took me 12. So it's a long journey. It takes forever, but you hope that it comes through eventually. Now, since Elise is in the room with us, I'm going to have her come off of mute. Can you hear me, Elise? So come off of mute. And I'm going to offer you a little bit of challenge. It's going to be really easy, but I want you to read the last sentence, and it's going to sound really crazy. So take yourself off of mute. Okay. And let me see you read the last sentence.
A seat tall, Aesthetic.
Correct. Now, that means nothing, right? But when we go over to the next phase, acetylsalicylic is actually aspirin, right? However, you know it as aspirin. You can mute yourself now. You know it as aspirin, but Bayer actually trademarked the name aspirin. Acetylsalicylic was probably too much to say, so they thought, okay, let's create this, but what can we call it? And how can we protect it? And we're going to protect it by calling it aspirin. So Bayer actually owned the trademark for the word aspirin. However, there's certain types of trademarks, which is one is aspirin, for example, and so is flip phone. And those are considered generic marks because the word has become so popular that it's synonymous with everything, right? Like if you say Kleenex, I need a Kleenex, right? You mean a tissue. Kleenex is the company name, but it's become so generic that you say I want a Kleenex and everybody knows you want a tissue. For a while, I worked for BlackBerry for a while, and I would hear people say, "Oh, I have a BlackBerry," and they would hold up their cell phone. It wasn't a BlackBerry, but that became the name that people called their phones. And you see now a lot of times people say, "Oh, I have an iPhone," and they might not have an iPhone. They may have another touchscreen device. So after a while, some words become generic marks. There's positive and negatives in that, of course. Then you have descriptive mark where you're describing something. Because a lot of people don't know Coca-Cola, but if you're in Atlanta, you probably did. It would be advantageous when the world opens back up. If you haven't been to the Coca-Cola Museum, you should go. The history on that is pretty spectacular. And the cola leaves, the cocoa leaves and the cola nuts is how they came up with their product. They used what's called a descriptive mark. Coca-Cola is the name is from actual product that's in there. Then you can have suggestive mark. Like if I said Jaguar, you're gonna know it's something fast because the animal's fast. Then you have fanciful marks, which is PoundPoms. It's actually, again, describing something, but it's a word that really doesn't exist. So you have 100%, you have that lane. Chances are aspirin and flip phone were probably a fanciful mark when they first started. It's just that they became so synonymous with the items that they represented that they became a generic mark. And then you have arbitrary mark, like Apple. If I said apple, you may think fruit, or you may think many other things, but some people can take an arbitrary mark and then make it a brand and product, which is what Apple, so famously have done. So your trademark is your brand. Now, as we get to the next page, so at the top, Fit to Cheer, that is my entity. That's my business entity, right? PoundPoms.com, that's my website, my domain name. Do It Weighted is a tagline. And it's also a trademark line, right? And of course, the logo is also trademarked as well. Now, let's talk about the ideas you may have. So at least, do you have an idea in mind that you have questions on?
Not so far.
Okay. So let me ask you, what is one of the primary reasons that you wanted to participate in this panel today? You can tell me. Mom and them can talk too if they want to.
I signed her up for this. This is Mom. I signed her up because I told her, she asked me, why did you sign me up? I said, because I want you to learn all the information that you can to help you to be your best self. So if you are thinking about pursuing any of your many ideas that you come to me with every day, you have some knowledge already to help you with that pursuit. So
absolutely. Good job, Mom. One up for Mom. See,
thank you.
I am the fourth of 5 kids. Okay. And I was the one like, but Mama, why? But why, Mama? Why? I was always asking why, and it probably got on her nerves. But my brain was always in action, right? And I can remember when I was in 4th grade, I thought I invented. No, in 4th grade, I invented a TV watch, because my bedtime was 8:30 and there was a TV show that I wanted to watch. And I was so upset, and I was laying in the bed going, if I had a TV watch, I could just watch TV on my watch. Well, guess what? We're right there, you know? And having, you know, been the fourth of 5 kids, it's 4 girls. I shared a bed with one of my sisters. And I always wish I had my own bed. So I remember laying in bed one time and I thought about a lazy boy chair. And I thought, what if I could take and fold the lazy boy chair out until it rolled out into like a twin bed? I could have my own bed. Now, I was always coming up with these brainstorms to do stuff. Those things exist now, pretty much exactly how I envisioned it. And so you never know what idea you may have that could be something that now at that age, would I have been able to pursue it? No, probably not. You know, we weren't in a position that I could have, but at least now you have a little more knowledge on kind of the trail that I took once I came up with an idea. And so let's move on. Now, this is a registered trademark. Now, if you've ever looked at a product, you may sometimes see right in the top corner or the bottom corner the initials TM, or you may see the R with a circle on it. You know, find some stuff around your house and just go and take a look and look to see if you see the TM on it, which means trademark, or the R in the circle, which means registered trademark. Now, the difference between a trademark and a registered trademark, right now, at least, if you had an idea and you wanted to let people know that you are wanting to protect this idea because you're going to pursue it, you could actually put the TM on what your idea is. You can do that. However, you cannot put the R in the circle. The only time you can put the R in the circle is once you have submitted your trademark to the USPTO, United States Patent and Trade Office, and they approve it as a registered trademark. Now they'll send your certificate like this. Now you are legally protected and nobody else can use your trademark. When you are trademarking or patenting, you have to do it. If you want it to be protected worldwide, you have to do it in each country. Just because it's one in the United States doesn't mean it's going to be protected in China. 4T zone I realized I was saying 4T zone a lot, and your 4T zone is your tummy, tush, thighs, and tries. And I was explaining how my product is going to help target, tighten, and tone your troubling 4T zone, tummy, tush, thighs, and tries, tummy, tush, thighs, and tries, tummy, tush, thighs, and tries. I was always saying it, and I realized I need to protect that because it could be and now what we call the 4T training system, the 4T training zone system is what I use a lot of times when I'm training people. And so I have protected that. Another, of course, is cheer camp. Now, the workout that I created is called cheer camp. Camp is spelled with a K, partly because I figured I could trademark that, but mostly because the K is for kinesiology, because this workout is a kinesiology workout, all hitting the guys at cheerleading. If you don't know what kinesiology is, it's a form of exercise science. It's based on the kinetic movements, okay? So with that in mind, that this also allows my company to be a STEM company. Yep, exercise science. Also, because the workouts are streamed, technology. And when I knocked on a lot of doors and no one would help me to design a product, right here in this space you see, I call it the PoundPoms headquarters. It's really my garage. I actually came up with the idea of how to produce the product. And so I became my own materials design engineer, and my patent is based on the idea that no one came up with, or the design that no one came up with except for me. So if you look at STEM, you got science, technology, engineering. If you look at STEAM, arts is dance, so that's included as well, and math. And the handle that's in a PoundPom, you would never see it, but it looks like this. And this is exactly 1 pound. Now, this is part of how one looks. Also, this is also how they look, okay? Now, this was the original design, and this weighs exactly 1 pound. Now, if you notice, there's a circumference. I had to find a way to cover this so that it wouldn't turn into, get very rusty. And so I put end caps on. But in order to do that, I needed to know how to measure the radius, the outside diameter, the inside diameter, all these things that, you know, you learn in mathematics. And I was not a fan of math growing up. I love statistics, hated algebra. But anyway, I had an idea and I wanted to do everything I could to do it. So when you think of STEM and math, I actually have that as part of my business as well, because I had to come up with all the measurements so that everything could be the weight that I wanted. I could have it covered and protected with end caps so it wouldn't rust. And not only am I a STEM company, I'm a STEAM company. So you never know what's going to come from what you are creating. And you want to use every avenue of interest that you can showcase it to a variety of people, because some people look at me and be like, oh, you have a weighted pom-pom. Like, actually, it's a STEM pom-pom. Now, because I said the word STEM, that's going to draw their attention and they're going to start asking questions. Well, how is it STEM? And then I can educate them on what I'm doing. So PoundPoms, also a registered trademark. But let me go back here. If you notice, right here, it says service mark. And then right here, it says principal register. Well, this is a product, so I'm going to have that. And that's why it's registered as a principal register versus a service, which is the action. So that shows you difference in the types of marks. They're both protected the same way, they're just kind of listed differently. Okay, this will be fun. Copyrights. For me, I have 5 core arm movements that a person's going to do when they're doing my workout. They're repeated, no matter who's teaching it, they're going to always be there. And that's low V, high V, touchdown, daggers, T. So that's protected. Trade secret. Now, you already know by looking at that picture what that is. You know, that's a bucket of chicken, right? And chances are, you know what the other object is too, and that's the Coca-Cola bottle. Those companies have what's called trade secrets, okay? They don't own the patent on the chicken, but they can protect how it's made. And the 11 herbs and spices and the Coca-Cola recipe, those are 2 of the most secretive recipes that exist, and they are kept on the lock and key. And at any given time, it's a very limited amount of people who actually know what that is. Go ahead.
Doesn't the Coca-Cola, like on the back of a bottle, won't it say like the ingredients and stuff? So basically, isn't that the recipe?
Okay, so you ever made a cake? I mean, cookies?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what's in a cake or cookies.
For cake, you have milk, egg, butter, and you have the cake mix.
Okay, so let's say we make one from scratch, right? Okay, how much flour? How many eggs? How much milk? How much baking soda or baking powder? How much salt? How many chocolate chips you're going to use? What type of chocolate chips? Where you get those chocolate chips? All of that is why you can, everything that I can name in my cabinets right now, probably of the herbs and spices that's used in Colonel Sanders' chicken, right? But do I know the right combination? Do I know how much salt, how much sugar, how much anything I'm going to put in something to make it different? And that's what's protected. They're protecting how they make that. I think, like, I make red velvet cakes. Yeah, I love red velvet cakes. And I've seen multiple recipes for them. But you know what? Mine is really, really good. And if I thought mine was the best red velvet cake ever, I could protect that with a trade secret. Now, it's not 100% protected the way I would want. That's why it has to be kept on the lock and key. But if it becomes so synonymous with greatness and everybody's like, this is the best red velvet cake I've ever had, I don't want any other but that person, I'm going to protect that recipe that I have that's been handed down from generations to generations, and this is the greatest cake ever. That is why if you pick let's say, think of, give me some other cola brands.
Like the different flavors of Coke?
No, just different colas, right? See, when you say Coke, you think what?
The flavors, the different flavors.
Right. But is a 7-Up Coke?
No.
Okay. So is grape Coke?
But grape Coke is not Coke because it's a different type of flavor.
Right. So when you think of Coke, you think of one type of cola, right? So what other brands have different types of colas?
Sprite.
Yeah, Sprite. And Sprite's more of a lemon lime soda, right? So or let's go with lemon lime. Did you say Sprite?
Yes.
Okay. So Sprite and then 7-Up, right? And then you've got colas. You've got Coca-Cola, Pepsi Cola. You got the generic colas, but do they taste the same?
No.
That's the secret. Okay. So they all probably have the same ingredients. They're just mixed differently. And because of the specific taste that Coca-Cola has, they have that recipe protected. So now you're understanding trade secret. So a good example too is Vaseline, right? You know what Vaseline is. You see it in the store. Big old jug says Vaseline. But then you have petroleum jelly. Well, what's the difference between petroleum jelly and Vaseline? Vaseline is a brand, okay? And they protected how they made the Vaseline. And you have active and inactive ingredients. And those are the magic. So maybe the petroleum jelly doesn't have the exact active ingredients or inactive ingredients, but they have the same ingredients. But if they're done a certain way, then one product may actually be better than the other. I prefer the actual Vaseline. And if you want to do something really fun, you should Google Vaseline and look at the history of it, because the way it was designed and the way they pulled it, it actually, they sent it over to the soldiers in I think it was World War, maybe in World War I, maybe in World War II, don't quote me on it, but it's one of the world wars. And they used it for wounds, to cover the wounds and protect a lot of the soldiers. So I'll give you some homework, which is really fun homework, but it's educational. If you happen to have Prime, Amazon Prime videos, if you would go to the history of food, or it's Foods That Made America, I think that's what it's called, the Foods That Made America. And it's going to talk about the guy who created Coke, the guy who created Kentucky Fried Chicken, and some other products that I'm going to talk to you about in a second. And it is so interesting. You sit there like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. It's going to blow your mind. You know, foods that we just take for granted actually had a foundation and a start the same way that PoundPoms has. Okay, so this is going to be fun. Trademarks. I already talked about that a little bit. It identifies a source of goods with a word. PoundPoms. Phrase, do it weighted. I'd love to say it. That's my slogan. All of that can be protected. Coca-Cola probably has one. I remember, I'm dating myself. Your mom may remember this. It's the real thing, Coca-Cola. You know, we used to say it. That was like, it's the real thing. It was right on the bottle and everything. And so you think about taglines that you've seen on products. I remember GE. We bring good things to light, right? So they have phrases that people identify the products with just the phrase. So we're going to have some fun. Here's 3 names, well, 4 names technically. The first name is Forrest Mars and Bruce Murray, okay? Those names mean anything to you? Probably not. You can say no, I already know. The next name, Harry Burnett. However, that's his first and middle name. I didn't put his last name on it because that would give him away. And then Milton S. I didn't put his last name on it because it would give it away. But for us, those names really don't mean anything. When you look at them, it just looks like male names, some man's name, right? But Forrest Mars and Bruce Murray invented M&Ms. Harry Burnett's last name is Reese's, and Milton S.'s last name is Hershey. He is Mr. Hershey. So the Hershey bars, the Reese's peanut butter cups, and M&Ms, candy that I actually like all of them, all the above. They started from an idea that someone had. And so if you look at the show that I said, if you have Amazon Prime, and you go to the foods that made America, they talk about M&Ms and Hershey's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. I think there's one on Heinz ketchup, which is pretty fascinating. The gentleman Heinz, his last name is Heinz. His name is protected, his name lives on, but he changed the way the FDA regulates food because he wanted his product and his staff to be very clean. He was all about cleanliness. And at the time when he created ketchup, they didn't sanitize the bottles and stuff at other businesses the same way. He wanted the sanitation to be a big issue, to the point that people were upset with him. Lots of people upset because he was too clean and it was too much of a headache for other people to do that. And a lot of times you got a lot of diseases that came from the unclean foods that people had. I mean, they would put crackers in a barrel and people just buy crackers straight out of a barrel. Yeah, crackers in a barrel. and so what he would do, Mr. Hines, is after every shift, he would have every person that worked there have a manicure. Before they left to go home, he made sure they all got manicures. Mr. Hershey, what's really interesting is he decided to create not just a candy bar, he bought land so he could create a town because he knew that happy employees were more productive employees. That's why Hershey, Pennsylvania exists today, because he wanted to create a town. And the story is fascinating. You should go and look at it. And trust me when I tell you, you will not walk away bored. You're going to be like, oh, because I'm going to tell you, the Colonel, he was a gangster. So I won't give it away. You just have to watch it. But Colonel Sanders, yeah, he was packing. Yeah. So it's such a fun story, and it's so educational, and it's on topics and foods that you like and that you're familiar with. But it's really interesting to see how they got their start. Now, one of the things I tried to do when I came with my product is I tried to make sure I had good validation. And I'm in Texas. And so I can honestly say that my product is 100% made in Texas. Yeah, saying 100% made in the USA is great. 100% made in the state that I live in, it was kind of accidental because I wanted to be able to go to the people who will give me certain parts. I wanted to make sure that they were done the way I wanted. I wanted hands-on. I wanted to be right in there. And so I was very fortunate to be able to find all the items I need to make and manufacture PoundPoms right here in Texas, including streamers I use. And I'm down the street from the University of Texas, and they have a fitness institute on the campus that regulates a lot of fitness guidelines and rules and policies and procedures. And so I wanted to make sure that my product was safe. So I took it down to the Fitness Institute of Texas at the University of Texas, and they tested my product. But they told me that my product is safe for ages 7 to 77 and over, as long as it is being used in the format outlined by Fit to Cheer, which means if somebody wants to use it in something else, that's not approved by me. PoundPoms are only used in my design the way the way I designed it to be used. Outside of that, if you decide to use it as a doorstop and your door shuts, it's not my fault. It's not what it's designed to do. Okay. Now, once you have an idea, you want it to be scalable. You may have heard that word before. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot in entrepreneurship. So, okay, you got pom-poms. What are you going to do with them? So they're weighted and you can do them for exercising. Great, fun. Well, it's also a product that I've partnered with the Cancer Exercise Training Institute, and I've created a program called PoundPoms for Recovery. So our breast cancer survivors can actually have a program that they can do that's very beneficial to them to help stave off lymphedema, which is a chronic ailment that 100% of our breast cancer survivors are susceptible to, and up to 50% can get. And if you're unfamiliar with lymphedema, it's the swelling of the arms where the lymphatic system gets damaged during chemo or radiation or surgery. And fluid has to constantly flow. And if it doesn't, it will swell the arms up, or even the neck, the legs, various areas of the body. So there are specific exercises that is recommended to help stave it off. It's not necessarily going to stop it, but it will help stave it off. At least that's what all the science says. And so this is a fun way for these survivors to truly become thrivers. And it's just fun to do. Another reason is I can create a program for cheerleaders, which I've created. It's called Cuts Camp, because 65% of female high school athletic injuries is from cheerleading. And cheerleading has not been truly regulated as a sport. So there are not a lot of guidelines put in place. The guidelines for cheerleading comes from cheerleading organizations that's been created to help do this. But oftentimes cheer injuries, they don't occur from lack of skill. They can occur from fatigue due to maybe improper conditioning. So I've created programs that can help condition the cheerleaders so that we can help decrease that injury statistic. So when you think about your business and you want to think, well, where else can I sell it to? I wanted to be able to, people say, well, you have a niche product. Yeah, but it can be used in a variety of different ways. And you want to make sure that you have a product that's not a one-hit wonder. You know, there's a difference between selling a product and creating a company. And I didn't want to just sell a product. I can just sell PoundPoms. I wanted to create a company so I could build from that. And that's what my goal is. And when you're doing that, what you want to do is also make sure that you have some partners and supporters that can back up what you're doing and validate you even more. Obviously, I explained the Fitness Institute of Texas, the Cancer Exercise Training Institute. I reached out to the American Academy of Pediatrics to find out what the science was, or what the statistics was rather, on cheerleading injuries. And I explained to them what I was doing, and they backed me up 100%, telling me they hope that I get this off the ground because this is something that's needed, and they're not seeing a lot of support in that area. I'm also a certified personal trainer and a certified group fitness instructor. And I'm on the board for Sheila's Way, which is a lupus foundation based on a professional bodybuilder named Sheila Flexi Brown, who actually is also a lupus survivor. Now, when you come up with the idea, is it a big market, a small market? I mean, you have to ask yourself, where all can I sell this product to? Well, obviously mine is a fitness product that is also can cross over to the cheerleading market. And I can look at survivors and those who suffer from chronic disease. So my market is massive when it comes to having an area to market to. It's never going to get bored. I'm never going to get bored with where I can take the product. And then you want someone and others to validate what you're doing. And I've been able to get some really good social proof that it is a product that people want, that people are interested in, and not just something that I came up with and nobody wants to see it go anywhere. But having been on ABC TV, Steve Harvey's Funderdome, in order to get there, you had to have an idea that they felt was marketable. And so I was able to launch my product in 2017 on Steve Harvey's Funderdome. Following that, during that time, I was asked to be in a GoDaddy commercial because they were the sponsors for Funderdome. And I've also been on some local news channels talking about the product. And I've been in Entrepreneur magazine 2 times, along with I've been in Black Enterprise magazine twice as well. So those are organizations that are not me saying how great my product is, but other people validating with social proof that it is a product that, you know, other people may want. And the great thing about that is, Elena doesn't even know this, but as of this week, I am the official fitness product for the New England Patriots cheerleaders. So that's a big validation point that I'm able to brag about now that I couldn't say before, but it was something that it came from people seeing the product, liking the product, and when they wanted it for a fitness studio, we worked a deal out. I got them some, and the girls that started their fitness studio in Rhode Island, they happened to be New England Patriots cheerleaders prior, they're alumni. And so they really loved the product and decided that they really wanted to have me work with the New England Patriots cheerleaders. And so that came about. But that's pretty much it. And it kind of gives you the trail. It's a constant go. No one has given me any investment money. The only money that I have received is money that I've won from game shows. And the rest has come out of my own pocket. So no, everybody doesn't get on Shark Tank and get money. And everybody can't just go and talk to an investor and they're saying, yeah, we want to give you this amount of money. We want to help you support your business. Sometimes it's just you in your garage. So that's it. Do you have any questions? Let me know. If you are watching this a little bit later, just email me at shamrock@poundpoms.com, or you can follow me on social media. Instagram is PoundPoms. And so is my TikTok, it's PoundPoms. And I don't know, Google Sherry ShamRock or weighted cheerleading pom-poms or weighted pom-poms and, you know, see what pops up. Thank you guys. And thank you, Elena, Commissioner Sanders, for inviting me to work with kids in entrepreneurship.